I'm here to talk to you today about conversions, websites, what happens after the click. So Google, we're so focused on what happens before the click and getting the click and driving traffic to your site, but what happens when a person gets to your site? That's what we're concerned about here. How do we make sure that as many of those users as possible who come into your site actually do what it is that you want them to do? And in this way, we say conversion. And of course, by conversion, we mean whatever it is that you've built your website to do in the first place, that you're aiming to drive people towards doing that. And that is your conversion. It's not necessarily a purchase or whatever. It could be a lead. It could be people reaching a certain page, staying on your site for a certain amount of time, signing up for a newsletter, downloading a brochure. Whatever it is, micro, macro conversions, you will have conversions in mind when you drive traffic to your site. What we want to do is help you to focus on getting those conversions. So I'm going to talk to you a bit today about desktop, and I'm going to talk to you a bit about mobile. And I'm going to just give you some things to be thinking about in terms of what you should be doing for better practices and getting better results with your sites. The first thing I'd like to do, though, is talk a bit about being open all hours. Okay? I don't know how many people in the audience actually remember Albert E. Arkwright and his little corner shop from the late 70s, early 80s in the BBC. And Albert E. Arkwright was an interesting character because he had this little corner shop and he was desperate for it to not change. And he was unwilling to upscale and upgrade and take in new things. He wouldn't even buy a new cash register because he figured that if it was new, people would find it easier to break in and take his money. So, this guy was just he was convinced that if he could just keep things the way they were, people would keep coming and his business would prosper and he'd be fine. And of course, he was completely wrong because it was around the time the supermarkets were coming in and the consumer's behavior was changing. And something I want you to keep in mind all the time when you're thinking about your website, just as you do with your advertising, is that your consumer's behavior is changing. And so you have to change to meet with that behavior. And that can be in terms of the evolution of what's going on inside your desktop website, but it can also be in terms of the fact that our users are now dictating to us where they're going to meet us, because they're buying mobile phones and tablets and things like that, and we now need to accommodate where our users are and be open to them at all hours. So I'm going to go in now to some best things to be thinking about generally about websites because they're very, very, very important. I can't obviously get in too much in depth, but I will talk to you about things that are really important that you really can do something about. And the first thing I want to talk about is speed. Speed is super important on your website, okay? When people get to your, I'm seeing some embarrassed kind of, oh God, Jesus, do you have to talk about this? Yes, speed is super important. When people come to your website, okay, they want things to happen quickly. And patience is actually going lower and lower and lower as time goes by. People want things to happen faster and faster. But one of the important things is that our pages have to load really fast. I love this thought of Formula One because it's what I love. Well, I actually like watching Formula One. Is anyone excited about this weekend? Formula One's coming back. It's going to be great. I'm sure half the people in the audience are going, oh crap, I'm going to have to put up with that now. But it's okay. Formula One is a fantastic thing to think about also because for those of you who do like it, and even those who don't, one of the things about Formula 1 that's essentially there is that it's such tiny, tiny amounts of time that make up the difference between one driver and another, and actually what makes a winner. And in fact, when you watch things like qualifying, you hear things like, oh, and Jenson Button has pipped it by 28 thousandths of a second. And, oh, wow, how amazing is that? But when it comes to websites, it's also really important to be thinking in terms of thousands of seconds. Milliseconds is what we call them. 250 milliseconds. This just came out last week from Google and Microsoft. All right, that's a quarter of a second, 250 milliseconds. Now, they've been doing studies and noticed that when two competitors are compared, if two websites are loading, when one of them is 250 milliseconds faster than another, it has an impact on the perception of the user as this is a better site. A quarter of a second is what we're talking about here. Amazon have actually said that they found that improving the speed of their site by 100 milliseconds has an impact of 1% increase in conversion rate. That's a tenth of a second. This is massively important. People are not willing to wait for these sites to load, so we have to really do it fast. In fact, 1% or 1 second delay in opening up your web page can have a 7% negative impact on the ROI of your website. Okay? 7% negative from a second. And look at this stuff. 7% loss in conversions, 11% fewer pages viewed, and 16% decrease in customer satisfaction because of a second. Okay? Speed is massively important. And it's not just in terms of how fast it opens up, but it's in terms of what we put into our sites. And that's going to dictate how fast our sites can open up. And the way we put that information in is going to dictate how fast our sites can open up. I love this picture because it's all of the Ferraris over the years going back, all the evolution of the cars. And that's the thing, is that they're always evolving their cars year on, year out. They're trying to come up with new ways of making them faster and faster and faster. And you also have to be doing that with your websites. Your websites must evolve. You cannot simply build one and go, great, fantastic, let the money roll in. You have to keep working on your site. And you have to keep working on ways to reduce the speed. I have this thing, Cassell's law. It's my law. Has anyone ever heard of Moore's law? Yeah? Can anyone tell me what Moore's law is? Anyone? So every year, come on. Yeah, so the capacity for chips is like doubling every year. And so the capacity for what you can do and power of computing is doubling every year. And the price is halving at the same time. Okay? And this causes fantastically wonderful things, like the fact that we can have phones in our pockets that are capable of doing things that nobody was able to do in a computer 5 or 6 years ago. It's brilliant. It also has negative things. And more than just things like we all have digital cameras, so we take lots of pictures and we never print any of them, okay? Because we've got all this capacity. But it also has a negative impact sometimes when you think about websites, okay? And Cassell's law simply is that every year we tend to double the amount of stuff we put on our websites, and at the same time, our users' willingness to wait for that stuff to load is actually halving. All right? So we're putting more and more things on our websites because we think, oh, we just add stuff. Here, stick that video in there. That'd be great. Here's a picture. And all the rest. And we keep putting more and more. Here's more text. Explain what that is better. Put in more and more text. And at the same time, the users are decreasing in their willingness to wait for these pages to load. So that, you know, if you go back 20, 30 years, you know, when I was a kid and you're playing on computers, we would wait forever for a computer game to load. All right? Do you remember? Whoever had a Commodore VIC-20? I had a Commodore VIC-20, all right? And what we used to do is we had a tape deck next to the Commodore VIC-20, and you'd put the tape in, and you put the cartridge into the back of the computer, and you'd press the plays and the record at the same time, and then you'd go off and have your dinner. And when you came back 45 minutes later, the game was ready to play. And you played that game for hours, because you were not going to load another one. Now, imagine, that was just like, giving away my age here. We're just going back 30 years or so, all right? Now, these days, how long do you think people are willing to wait for websites to open up? Anyone? 2 seconds is a good guess. 2 to 3. 2 to 3 seconds is the average amount of time a person's willing to wait for a web page to open. Okay? And we have to keep in mind also, of course, that people have multiple tabs open, so they can just go off and do something else if your page isn't loading fast enough. Hell, they may even have your competitor's site open at the same time, and hey, it did load a quarter of a second faster, so off I go. So we need to be always thinking in terms of having faster and faster websites. Speed. Speed is really important. Okay. And the thing that is going to help us to make sure that we, obviously have very fast things is when we have a really good team. All right? So be that you and your agency or you and yourselves or whatever way you're doing things, but you need to have a really good team that's working together. And I mean a web marketing team. And you're all probably thinking, that's fine. We have a web marketing team. But I'm going to introduce something terrifying for some of you right now because it's probably going to shake a few things anyway. And that is that your web marketing team should be your website team and your marketing team, and they should have the same targets. So your IT guys should not be sitting over in a special department that looks after the website, and that when you go, absolutely, we've got it, we really need to work on this, they go, take a ticket, wait in line, 18 months, and we're going to get to that. Because that's what happens very often. All right? And so you need to think about the structure of your marketing teams as well, and the structure of the way you work. And whether you're working with Greenlight doing this or you're doing it yourselves, you need to be thinking in terms of the people who are responsible for your website should have the same targets as the people who are responsible for your marketing. Because that's the best way to ensure that they're actually going to help the marketing teams to deliver. This is all about online marketing. It's everyone involved together. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is content. And I'm actually still thinking in terms of speed because there's the other side of speed, which is that when a user comes into a site, they want to be able to do something, probably and hopefully it's the thing that you wanted them to do when you built the site and brought them in here, but they want to be able to do it reasonably quickly. And they do not want to have to trip over everything that you put in there because some smart aleck thought it'd be a great idea to put a video in or whatever. You want to help them to get to things really fast, okay? So, why have I put this here? What is the significance of the number 8? No. I've never even heard that answer before. That's a good point. Yeah. No, actually, it's not, though. It's the number of seconds that the average user is willing to spend scanning a page before deciding if it's the place they want to be. Okay? 8 seconds. Let's take all those hours you spend bent over that website, building it. Nobody cares. Okay? You think that 8 seconds is as much time as they're going to give you before they make a decision on whether or not to actually stay here, whether or not you have what they've come here to do. You've 8 seconds to persuade them. As Jacob Nielsen put it very nicely, you can't actually build manuals to go with your websites. People don't have time to go in and read a how to use this homepage article, or how to use this site article, or how to use this page. You need to persuade them in 8 seconds or less that your content and your site can deliver for them what they want. And that means that when they see your page, they need to see a page that's focused on them. And that's where we talk about focus. And I have 3 simple rules that I use when people ask me, what should I focus on when I'm thinking about my content? I think, oh, well, here's 3 simple rules that should help as a guideline to keep in mind when you think. The first thing is you want to focus on the user, i.e. the person who came to the site. They don't care how great you are. They care how great you are for them. So when you're laying out your content, you need to think, what do they really need? Imagine when you go looking at banks. Are you really impressed when you see a line on the landing page that says, we have 15,000 branches nationwide? Do I care? No. What I care is if you have a branch near me, okay? And you have to think about it. Are we blowing our own horns when we build our websites, or are we thinking about what people actually want when they come here? And are we delivering to them the benefits for them? So the first thing you do is focus on the user. The next thing you do is focus on the conversion. Okay, whatever it is you built your site to do, be it leads or, as I say, getting people to buy something, or whatever it is that you built it for, you need to focus on that and not be distracting them with other things that you've thrown in there because nobody told you not to, or whatever. Somebody in marketing just wanted to have this in here or whatever. You have to go beyond that and think, is this really useful for people? I need to focus on the conversion. I need to focus on not distracting people. And then the third is you need to focus the user on the conversion. That's it. It's really simple, when you think about it. It's not rocket science. Focus on the people who are using your site. Focus on what it is you want them to do, and focus on getting them to focus on the things you want them to do. Straightforward enough. How many of you do it? I'd say not many. Okay, just being generous here. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is navigation. All right, so people come into your site and you want them to do certain things, so how do you get them to where it is that they want to go? You're planning out your information architecture. Frank Lloyd Wright is the guy who designed the Guggenheim in New York. All right? And he had this fantastic phrase where he said that, I can use the eraser when I'm at the drawing table, or I can wait and use a sledgehammer when I'm on the construction site. And it's very, very good to think about when you're thinking about your website, is you need to try and plan and think about the way you lay out your navigation. Because otherwise, later on, you end up taking a sledgehammer to your site, desperate to try to fix things and working it out. So think about the way it's laid out. Test it. Actually do testing with people, asking them, where do you think this should belong in my navigation? So that you can help to understand where people expect to find things. And don't crowd your navigation full of everything under the God earth that you could think of. Think about the fact that most people can't actually, psychologically, in their brains, most people can't actually think beyond the number 7. Okay? They can think beyond the number 7, but they can't, once they see lists that are longer than 7 things long, once they get to number 8, they start forgetting number 1. And the brain is, and I've even heard psychologists saying it as low as 4. So if you hover over navigation that drops down and there's like 80 things that you can do in there, it's going to be really hard to find what you're looking for. And also, if there's 80 things in there you can do, it's going to be really tiny and hard to read as well. And for a tablet user, it's going to be a nightmare trying to click on it. Okay? So you need to think about, do I have too much navigation as well? All right. Now, I'm going to go back to some popular culture here. Has anyone ever seen the film The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? It's a brilliant film. Shame on you if you haven't seen it yet. It's a fantastic film by Sergio Leone. And you've got, there's Clint Eastwood's character, who's the man with no name. And then you've got Tuco the rat, played by Eli Wallach, and he's the ugly guy. And the ugly guy is trying to catch the good guy because he did something bad to him earlier in the film. And what they're constantly doing, they're constantly saying to each other all the time is something like, there are two kinds of men in this world. All right, so let's expand that to people now, because it was made in the 60s. So there are two kinds of people in this world, all right? And we need to think about that when we're thinking about our websites. There are two kinds of people who come into their site. Those who use the door and those who use the window. Okay? What? Yeah, okay. So there's two kinds of spurs in this world. It's actually the exact split. Those who come through the door and those who come through the window. And of course, he sees the ones coming through the door and he kills them. But he doesn't see the guy coming through the window and he gets caught, all right? So the guys come through the door and come through the window. When we lay out our sites, we tend to get very caught up in the door, all right? We get thinking all about the door, all about how people come into our sites and they're going to navigate around and we're going to work out that navigation and build our sites for people who navigate. We forget all about the window. The people who come in who don't want to navigate, who know exactly what they want and they want to search. And when we think of our navigation, we must give a lot of consideration to search and allow for the fact that people who search generally want to go straight to results that reflect what they were looking for. And we need to make sure we have a really good search engine on our site that can help them to get there. And also, the good thing about search is that a lot of people who search, generally, from what I see when I look at people in their analytics accounts, is that searchers tend to convert better than navigators because searchers know what they want. And they go in and they're looking exactly for something. But it's a really bad thing if searchers can't find what they're looking for, because they'll leave and go somewhere else and find it there. So search is very important. We cannot forget it. And whether they navigate or they search, wherever they go, it should be easy for them to find and refine. Your search should be smart enough to anticipate things like spelling mistakes. It should be smart enough to realize that if I put 3 keywords in there, I'm probably looking for something that reflects all 3 and not one of the 3. Okay? It's really irritating when you look up black woolly hats and you get things that are black, things that are woolly, and things that are hats. Okay? You're looking for black woolly hats. It's pretty obvious. So you want to make sure like that your search results reflect what people are looking for. And even when people put in fairly generic, simple terms, a lot of people do put in one-word keywords and that on sites. It needs to be very easy to refine them. So this site actually is a great example, not very well known. They're actually a Danish company. They've got an English brand, smartfashion.com. And they've done a really great job in terms of making it easy to refine your navigation. So you get in, and there's 1,366 results, which is a lot of jackets. And I'm not going to want to have to go through that many pages of jackets. And it is very common on sites to find this, particularly in things like apparel and retail. They have this wonderful thing of allowing you to refine your results. Isn't that amazing? And not just that, but you can refine multiple things at the same time. And you can refine, say, by multiple colors and multiple prices and multiple brands at the same time. Because let's face it, when you go in and you're looking for a black woolly hat, you're hoping it's going to be black and it's going to be woolly and it's going to be a hat. And you want to be able to refine down by colors and maybe by material or whatever, or by size or whatever. And you want to be able to refine by multiple things. And having a search that just gives you results and allows you to just sort, or just allows you to refine by one element between one subcategory at a time is a horrendously bad experience and very hard to refine. And so with this particular site, in just under 20 seconds, I was able to bring that 1,360 results down to 7 that reflected what I was looking for. And that's a really good navigation experience. Okay, conversion. After all, that's why we're here. Let's think about conversions. So it's really hard to convert when you land on a site that has signposts pointing in many different directions at the same time. And it's very hard to identify which one it is you actually want me to follow. So it's very important that we put breadcrumbs, as it were, across the site. Hansel and Gretel style. This is where we want you to go. This is what we want you to click on. This is what we want you to do. Make it really easy. One way you can do that, of course, is to not have multiple signs telling people where to go. Have one sign and to be making it as easy as possible for people to actually know, this is what I need to do if I want to proceed. And of course, you need to provide them with all the information they need to help them to choose to go in that direction. So all the things that are going through your mind. If you're a retailer, I think a lot of you are retailers. If you're a retailer, things like, I'm buying, say, clothes. This is this classic example. So I'm buying a pair of trousers. What am I going to be concerned about? Well, can I get this? Can I send this back? after I buy it? Because I haven't even tried them on yet, you know? What's the delivery cost? Is delivery going to happen and all the rest? What are the things that are on my mind? And you want to have those things close to those action buttons where you want a person to make a decision. Don't put it on another tab. Don't have the description and put in your size and all the rest, and then click this tab if you want to find out what our returns policy is, or go down to that tiny little link at the bottom of the page. The things that are your unique selling points, you should be shoving them in people's faces. So if you do have a returns policy, and you all do, by the way, it's about 7 days minimum, it's the law, you know, put that in there. Let people know they can actually return things. It doesn't mean they will, but they should know that they can. And they should know that your delivery is going to cost this or that, and they're not going to get any shocks when they get into the basket. You want to help them to make decisions and go in a particular direction. Does anyone recognize this? This was a film on YouTube. It came out about 2 years ago. It was called The Cart Whisperer. And it's a fantastic video. I definitely recommend you look it up. It's very funny. I'm not going to play it for you now. But it's this guy essentially hunts down abandoned shopping carts and, you know, come on, and takes them back to supermarkets and leaves them there with their friends, you know? And it's a fantastically funny offline notion about this whole concept of abandoned shopping carts. But abandoned shopping carts are a big deal. They're a very big issue for conversions. People put things into their shopping carts and then they leave. And then they don't buy anything. And maybe they'll come back, but maybe they won't. And we need to try and help people to do that, to come back. And one of them, a very important thing is this here, 23%. What am I thinking about with this 23%? Abandoned shopping carts because you force them to register, okay? 23% of people will not go any further into your shopping process if you make them register before they go in, all right? And it's such an easy thing to avoid. I mean, we all want registrations, God knows why, but some setup thing that was there from ages past. But thinking online, offline, you know, if you went into a supermarket and somebody made you register in order to buy something, you'd walk out of the shop. But we do it online. We make people register in order to proceed. And 23% of us are going, actually, you know what? I don't think so. And that's actually quite old. It's actually growing. That's stats from 2008. I've seen things from America last year. They were saying around 45% numbers in the US now. I've seen people do testing where they've tested removing the registration up and seen their conversion rate double off the back of it. And yet we continue to make people register in order to proceed. Here's an idea. What kind of information do you need to get from a registering user that you don't need to get from a person who's just buying something from you? Nothing except a password. Exactly. Everything else they still have to give you. They need their name, address, email address, telephone number, all that, so you can deliver things and contact them and let them know, send them receipts. All that stuff is still there. The only thing you're asking of them is a password. Here's an idea. Imagine if we just push that to the end after a person purchases something from us, and then said something like, if you'd like to track your purchase, you may want to create a password, and then you can come back and do so. You've now got your account. But the person bought something from you without having to worry about going through that password process. They might still say, no, it's all right, I don't want to track it. That's fine too. But better to have had the purchase before you found that out than instead of pushing them away before they even got into that conversion funnel. The other thing I want to look at here is we look at, you know, the online-offline experience I was referring to there a second ago. And this is a video that I like to look at because I want you to think about this in terms of your conversion funnels and how much this relates to you. And by the way, it does. Oh.
Hey, just that, thanks.
You sure?
Yeah.
Username?
Oh, Nick M?
No.
NM 1983?
No.
Zandy Pops?
Sorry.
Zandy Pops?
No, okay, don't worry, I'll help. What's your postcode?
Oh, it's GU749ZT.
Welcome back, Nick Forever.
Hey.
Please listen carefully to this bread license agreement before continuing with your purchase of a loaf of bread. If you do not, blah, blah, blah. You also agree not to use any bread-based product for any purposes prohibited by United Kingdom law, including without limitation, design, development, manufacture of missiles, chemical, nuclear, or biological weapons.
Tick.
I'm afraid you've timed out.
What? Sorry. Hello? Excuse me. Oh, yeah, hey.
Just one loaf, sir.
Yeah, we just...
What's your username?
It's Nick Forever, but number 4, not the...
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to check that you're a real person. Could you say that for me?
It's not even a word.
Okay, how about this one?
You know what, forget it.
Or this one?
Potter nice.
You're in.
Great, I'm in.
£8.85.
It's supposed to be 98p.
Plus express delivery.
What's that?
Oh, well, it's express delivery. It's fast. So there's, standard.
Standard.
Standard delivery. That's £4.99.
Why?
Bread insurance. You didn't untick the don't decline bread insurance option.
You know what? I think I'll risk it.
It is quite close to the sell-by date.
Don't care.
98p it is. If you want to pop back in 5 business days, it'll be ready for your collection.
Well, I need it now, obviously.
Oh, OK. You want the take-home today price? Well, that's £3.27.
You know what? I'm going to go.
Come back soon.
I won't.
And the truth is we can't, and we shouldn't. And we shouldn't keep thinking that users somehow feel that their view of us online is going to be so different to their view of us offline. They expect to have a unified experience with you regardless of what way you do your business. And forcing them to jump through hoops in order to buy something from you, I mean, you're forcing them to do things so that they can have the privilege of buying something from you. How nuts is that? All right? So conversions-wise, you need to be thinking about, and this is fundamental to all your websites, how do we make it as easy as possible for somebody to buy from us? Okay. The last thing I want to talk about this before we get into mobile is testing. And that is that, we don't just say change your site. You should be testing changes to your site. And a very important thing you want to do is actually be looking at your analytics. In this case, it's Google Analytics, it could be Omniture, Core Metrics, whatever it is that you use, you should actually be going in there and using an analyst and understanding. Otherwise, it's recordix. Okay? It's just writing down everything that's been happening. But you need to be actually analyzing it and understanding it and building actions out of it and setting yourself key performance indicators for what it is you expect your site to do and what are all your micro and macro conversions and what are the values of them and how many of them do you want to get in a period of time, and then you need to be trying to improve your site to meet those KPIs, and you use the analytics to do that. And once you've identified those areas in your site that need the most work, you need to test those improvements. And this is some examples of some of the things that people have a tendency to test. This is an e-consultancy report from last year. So a lot of people are testing their call to actions. This is one I particularly like. 49% are testing promotions and offers. How many of you test promotions and offers? 1, 2, do you all work together? Maybe, yeah, okay. All right, one site. Oh, wow, how amazing is that? I mean, here's a great opportunity. You have an idea for an offer, a special offer you wanted to do, or a sale way you want to present your sales or whatever. And you can actually test that by just doing some A/B testing and setting up 2 variations of it and seeing which ones actually lead to more conversions. It's very, very insightful. Very often the one you thought was going to win doesn't, okay? And that's the reason we trust our users to tell us what it is about the site that they like, and not just the hippo. What's a hippo? Highest paid person's opinion, okay? We do not want to listen to hippos, okay? I'm sure there's plenty of hippos in here, but we don't want to listen to you. We want to listen to the people out there who are using your site because they're the ones who are buying things from you. You ever hear that fantastic story about the billboards, guys, and how the boss said, I want to see ads for our place all over town. And they knew they couldn't afford to put ads for the thing all over town, so they made sure there were billboards between his house and his office, everywhere. And he figured it was all over town. That's a hippo-like decision. What a waste of money. Just one road the whole way into the city that's covered, okay? And that's essentially what you're doing when you're allowing one person to dictate what your website should look like. We should use thousands of people to dictate what our website should look like. And they should be our customers, because they're the ones that are going to use the site, and it's their money we're after. Okay? So they should be telling us how best to help them to spend that money. You don't have to use any particular software. If you're not sure what ones to use, here's a good place to go. It was one of our partners, our Google Analytics certified partners, who built this one, whichmvt.com. And you can go in and you can see all the different multivariate and A/B testing softwares, or a lot of them that are out there, and compare them to one another and find the one that best reflects what you're looking for. But you should be testing and not just changing, or even worse, not changing at all. Okay. So let's go on and think about mobile, because that's the other really important thing in our open all hours, is that people are now coming to us from different devices, and we need to be thinking about how to reach those people when they come in. Have a smartphone. And by a smartphone, we mean a phone that can have a full internet browser experience on it. We do not mean phones that have big screens. Okay? Phones actually have to be capable of having a full internet experience. 47% or 51.3 are now saying, we're now seeing have got full internet experience on their mobile phone. But it's still a small device. Demographics. Let's just think about why we should be thinking about building mobile websites and like sites specifically for mobile and trying to grab people when they're on those mobile devices. Let's think about demographics. Who's using these things? Well, there's people like you, all right? Business people tend to, how many people here have a smartphone? How many people here don't? All right, I've got 2. All right, so how many people have a smartphone? Everyone. Okay, your demographics. So you've got money, you know. I hope, you know. But generally, you know, you're the kind of people you're targeting towards here in terms of mobile. They're people who've actually got some money or whatever. We've also got, you know, the students who tend to want to get in there and be on the top of everything, and they're in with their iPhones or whatever, and they want to be there. They've got mobile phones. And actually, when it comes to tablets, silver surfers are really loving the tablets along with the business people and that. So there's this ABC1 demographic that's going in, the early adopters who are going in, but now 50% of the economy, like with mobile devices, are on these things. It's kind of mad to think how many people don't have mobile websites when wouldn't we love to know that we could build things and we would be sure to be targeting people in this kind of a demographic. So there's a real incentive for why we should be thinking about mobile devices, that the people who have them are the people who are likely to have a greater disposable income. And if you look in your analytics and see who's coming into your site on iPads, you'll find that they tend to be converting as well as you're doing on desktop, and they even tend to spend a bit more on their average order values than you get from desktops, because they're the super early adopters. They're not just the super early, they're the super rich, you know, because it's not cheap getting yourself an iPad. So, you know, they're the A demographics, or even ABs. So we want to be thinking about how we can help those people. That's a great reason to be going into the mobile area. Another thing is, of course, that it boosts performance. You know, people are much happier to engage with a site. You know, 85% more likely to engage with a site and stay on a site and view more pages of a site if they see a proper mobile experience when they get onto it. So a mobile website that's got a good mobile experience is important to them. They're also much more likely to buy from retail if they get in on a mobile experience. But by the way, back to the speed thing, they do still expect these sites to load. In fact, I think it's 58% of mobile website users or mobile users expect websites to open as fast or faster on a mobile device than they do on a desktop device. So if you give them that already slow desktop page and slap it onto their mobile device when they're out and about, you're not helping yourself here. Okay, I just gave away my answer there. What's so special about mobiles? They're personal, okay? So it's an incredibly impressive thing. And what makes mobile stand out about, you know, against all the other things, desktops, tablets, whatever, how many people here share their mobile device with somebody else? Nobody, oh, do you? Your iPad, yeah, I'm talking about the little guys here, you know. Yeah, tablets are more likely to share our tablets than we are, you know, just like we'll treat them a bit like laptops at home. You know, they're great for watching YouTube and all the rest. But the phones, how many of you share your phone with somebody else? No, I mean, there's no way. It's like you love your phone more than you love your kids, you know? It's like, how many of you sleep next to your phone at night? Yeah, many of you sleep next to your wife, you know? I mean, you know, it's like the phone is just such a personal device, and we go in there and we use it for everything, and we're terrified. I would lose the keys of my house before I'd lose my phone. Okay, I'd be terrified. I've had that. Do you ever have that moment where you go, Jesus Christ, you know? I was like, I could have lost my phone. Oh God, and you feel that, you know, that sudden heat, and you go, Jesus, I've no phone. That's how personal they are. They are really important to us, and you have a chance to target people on those personal devices. And because they're so personal, we're always logged in on our phones. It's much easier to get it to biting. See, that's my name. Because every time I go to Amazon on my phone, they go, hi, Shane. Because they know it's me. And I can do things like one-click purchases on my phone. You know, I can go out and have a few drinks, and I can come home, and 2 days later, a load of books arrive. Okay? Because I can so easily buy things on my phone. Phones are incredibly powerful. You know, you're mad if you're ignoring the potential here to reach people through phones. And they do expect mobile websites. They do want mobile experiences. And if they come to sites that don't have good mobile experiences, they're really likely to go and look for a competitor. I think it's 66% likely to go and just look for a competitor that has a mobile website. And they're also very unlikely to come back. So, you know, there's a real opportunity here to get people, and because, what percentage of advertisers in the UK, do you know, actually have mobile websites at the moment? 28%. So, you know, more like half people are looking for them. A quarter of them are offering them. You have a real opportunity here to get something going that's going to give you a chance to get one over on your competitors, who are all probably in this room. Or some of them maybe, okay? But here's your chance, you know, is to get out there, get in. It's not too late to be early. You know, we're always saying that. It's not too late to be early, and it's not too late to be early. And you need to get out there and get those mobile sites ready for them. Okay, and I'm just going to go through some best practices so that when you're building those mobile sites, some things to be thinking about. Pens at the ready. No, you can get the deck after, it's fine. But these are some things that you should be thinking about when you're building mobile websites. How many people here have a mobile website for their site? Well done you, shame on the rest of you. Okay, that's a very small percentage. That's probably less than the 28% of this room. You should have these things, guys. This is really important. If you have them, here's ways to think about improving them, or maybe not. Maybe you've already thought of all of this. Or if you don't have them, here's ways to think about when you're building them. Okay, so number one, remember we talked about this earlier, speed. All right, you've got to keep it quick. It's very important that your mobile website is fast, it's easy to get in there. But also, you think about the fact that mobile users are task-oriented. So they're going in there and they want things to happen quickly. They're on data connections, for God's sake. They're, and they've got all these things trying to limit the amount of data they can actually bring down. So the bigger you make your site, the more you suck on their data, but also their battery, because they're trying to bring things down, and their time. And they are time, data, and power poor people on mobile devices. So you need to make sure that it's quick enough that you're not sucking on those things. Simplify the navigation. Remember I talked about this earlier? God, it's amazing how it all just keeps coming back up. But seriously, on mobile, it's even more important that navigation is simple, that you're not putting them through unbelievable amounts of hoops. And one way to do this is to think about the content that you're putting onto your site. And actually, if you go into your analytics, you can create things like advanced mobile segments and see just the way mobile users behave on your site versus desktop users. And think, maybe I should build a different experience for mobile and make sure that it's easier for mobile people to do certain things because they're the kind of things they're looking for. You can also get away with on mobile your navigation being a little longer because people are willing to go through a bit more navigation, generally we've seen, if they're going to get better results at the end of it. You really simplify your navigation. Having said that, you do still want to keep it seamless. You want to be thumb-friendly. I have another rule, law. There's another one of mine. It's great. This is the mobile rule of thumb. Okay? And it's pretty simple. If it cannot be done with the thumb, it cannot be done. Okay? So when you're building your sites, you need to always be thinking that everything that you want people to do must be thumb-friendly. And you have to err towards larger thumbs, okay? Thumbs, oh, sorry, that was my Irish accent getting through there. Thumbs, err towards larger thumbs, all right? So big manly thumbs, okay? Because they have to be able to touch things too. Big buttons everywhere. Okay, then we want to think about designing for visibility. So you're outside. Phones are kind of weird that way. They're different to almost everything else in the world in that the brighter it gets, the harder it is to see them. So we need to allow for the fact that when people are out and about, they should still be able to see their phone. They should still be able to see what you have on your phone. So you want to have nice light backgrounds and contrasting, high contrast text. That whole designer thing of light gray text on a white background, no. Okay, that's a bad thing on desktop too. But when you're designing a site and you're on a screen that big, it looks great. But when you're down on a small thing, no, no, no. So actually a good thing to think about for this is when you're testing how good your site is, go out for a walk. See how easy it is to use it when you're outside on a sunny day. Because that's important. If you want to see a site that does this really poorly, unless they've changed things recently, the Marriott Hotel website, black background, dark gray buttons, light gray text on the buttons, wow, impossible to see anything on a sunny day. The only thing you can see is a little red line at the bottom that says, download our app. How fantastic is that? Okay, so design for visibility. Make it accessible, all right? And the big thing here is no flash, please, at all. All right, no flash, please, for British. Isn't that what you say? No flash, all right, because iOS can't read Flash. And even, Adobe aren't even putting that much more into Flash for mobile anyway. So you want to avoid Flash. But you also want to think about it in terms of things like the way people look at a phone. Because it's, you can hold a phone this way, which is the most visible, but you can also hold it that way, the landscape way. And it has to look good both ways. So you need to make sure that it's accessible. And also, and don't do this, and it's very irritating, and it happens with lots of newspapers, when I turn the screen, don't bring me back to the top of the screen again, okay? It's very infuriating. So make sure that when people turn the screen that they stay where they are and they just see larger versions of things. And if you know people are going to be using it both ways, build it thinking in terms of portrait and making things bigger in landscape. Don't build it thinking in terms of landscape and making it smaller in portrait, because that's just going to be a poor experience. Okay, making it easy to convert, right? Because that's what we build them for. It's very important. How can we make it easier for them to convert on mobile? Well, we've already referred to big buttons, but then when they get in to do conversions and that, we want to try and limit the amount of data entry required, because they've only got virtual keyboards, and it's not a very pleasant experience trying to complete things on a virtual keyboard. So as much as possible, help them out. Postcode finders, things like that, to help them not have to put in their whole address themselves. Using things like HTML5. Scary thought. HTML5. Whoa. Okay, HTML5. The HTML we use now for everything on websites, that's just HTML4. Okay, we just call it HTML, and people go, "Oh, that sounds pretty." It's just the next generation, guys. All right. And there are little things you can do. You don't have to build your site in HTML5. It'd be great if you did, but you don't have to. But little things like using HTML5 inside the form fields that say things like input type equals number. And what that does is it communicates with the device, because that's what's brilliant about phones, is you can communicate with them. And it communicates with the device, and it says, I'm looking for a number here. Don't give me the alphabetical keypad. So just that little thing means that when a person's trying to complete something, they just touch the field, and up come the numbers straight away. Or I'm looking for an email. Up comes the @ symbol and the .com button inside with the keypad. You can actually communicate with the phone. It won't in any way negatively impact your desktop, by the way, if you're just tweaking it to put these things in. It'll only communicate with devices it can, like tablets and phones. Drop-downs, scroll lists, anything that can help to limit the amount of data entry. And if you're using things like checkboxes, pad them. What I mean by padding them is that a person can touch something near the checkbox and it'll still check it. Don't make them have to touch that tiny little box. Okay? The words, for example, around it could maybe be padded. Okay. Make it local. So as much as possible, bring some kind of local element in it, even if you're pure play, by the way. I've seen this. Actually, those guys, the fashion guys that I did earlier, Smart Fashion, they've done a thing, even as a pure play, where people can say where they live, and they can give them an idea of how long postage is going to take. But anything, that could just help them. But if you've got a bricks and mortar element to your company as well, then you want to help people to go to the stores, because mobile users are in stores as well. And they're out and about, or they're on their way to stores. So you want to, as much as possible, use things like the GPS and the other special things that are in phones to give a better phone-specific experience. Make it seamless. It should still look like it's your company. So, I know you have to reduce it and all the rest, but it should still be similar brand colors and all the rest. And it should also be a seamless experience, so that when I put something in my basket on my phone, I should be able to buy it on my desktop, and vice versa. Amazon does a great job of this. I can put something into my basket on my phone, my Kindle, my tablet, or my desktop, and I can go to any of the other devices, and it'll be there for me to go ahead and buy it. And you want to make sure it's easy to do that, particularly for people who maybe aren't yet comfortable buying on a mobile device. So you want to use mobile site or tablet redirects if you've got a tablet-specific site. And the thing about the redirects is that it shouldn't just be a case of, and I'm seeing this all the time, it's very infuriating, of a person looks up something on search, okay? Black woolly hats, right? They look it up on search, they see your site, they click on it, and you bring them to the home page of your mobile site. Now they have to start again. How kind of a terrible experience is that? Redirects should actually redirect the whole way through the site. Whatever it was they were going to go into, they're redirected to the mobile version of that page, not back to the home page. And those redirects should bring you to every single page. And when they come in, things like the store locator, which is so important to mobile users. 33% of local or of searches on Google these days that are on mobile devices have a local intent. So they have the name of a place in there with them as well. So store locators are really important on mobile sites. And wherever they land, they should see a store locator. And if you want a great example of someone who's doing this, Debenhams. Debenhams. No matter what page you go into on their site, no matter what you're looking for, there's always up in the top right-hand corner a store locator button. So you can very quickly, because that's what a lot of users are looking for. Where can I buy this? And then, press the other button. Learn, listen, and iterate. Okay, this is really important. Like I said before, testing. On desktop, it's the same with mobile. We are evolving. Users are evolving. Their expectations are evolving. Websites are evolving. You need to be constantly learning, listening to what your users are telling you. And the way they tell you is by the way they behave on your site, and going through your analytics and understanding what they're doing and whether or not you're really delivering what you need from them, and then iterating, testing, going out and actually putting out different versions of your site, testing it, seeing what works, and be always evolving. And that would be my main message to you today, is that no matter what you decide to function on and settle on OS from what I tell you, you should always, always, always be improving your site in much the way that you're always, always, always improving your advertising. If you think about your site, because that's where you're driving everybody. So I ask you, this is my appeal to you, don't be Albert E. Arkwrights. Okay? Don't sit back and hope people will just keep coming if you leave things the way they are, because people like things to stay the way they are, don't they? Obviously. So please, please, please invest in your websites, not just your advertising. Invest, test, and build better experiences for users, because that's what will drive up your conversion rates. Thanks.
Thank you very much to Shane. I think you can see the passion that Shane's got about this subject. If he's got that much passion about the subject, you should probably have that amount of passion about your websites. And so, loads and loads of information in there. We'll follow up with Greenlight and follow up with you individually about how we make sense of it.